Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. This time, we're really going to get into activity trackers and you know how they can help us get healthier. You sent in this PDF called The Use of Activity Trackers and Health Transformation. And it looks like you're trying to figure out if they're worth it, beyond just the marketing hype. Can these little things on our wrists really help us be healthier, sleep better, and stress less? Let's see.
Yeah, it's interesting, that you want real change, long-lasting change. I mean, we see these devices all the time marketed as like these quick fixes, but you want to dig deeper.
For sure. One of the first things that really grabbed my attention in this PDF is this idea that they can motivate you to move more. So just seeing those numbers, does that really make that much of a difference?
Well, it's not just about seeing the numbers. It's more like this feedback loop, right? The PDF actually mentions the study from the Lancet, and get this study is from 2007. Even back then, people who were trackers were walking almost 27% more each day. That's a lot of steps.
Wow, 2007. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So this isn't like some new fad or anything, but how does it actually work? Is it just the numbers or is there something else going on?
Yeah, you can think of it like having a tiny little cheerleader right there on your wrist, like giving you these little nudges all day long. It's that little reminder, take the stairs instead of the elevator, or to park a little further away when you go to the store. And to forget, a lot of these trackers also use gamification, like turning working out into a fun little challenge or competition. You can compete against your friends, try to reach your daily goals, and really level up your health, so to speak.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It kind of plays on our need to compete, right? I can definitely see how that would help people stick with healthy habits over time.
Exactly. And this PDF actually even uses the phrase long-term motivation, which suggests that these devices, they could do more than just give you a quick burst of motivation, you know what I mean? They could help you create healthy habits that really last. Speaking of motivation, another area where trackers could have big impact is heart health. This PDF even mentioned that the American Heart Association endorses activity tracking as a way to prevent heart disease.
Oh, wow. Well, that definitely lends some credibility to this whole thing. But how exactly do they help your heart get healthier?
Okay, so for one thing, they track really important things like your heart rate, how far you walk and run, and how many calories you burn. All of this feedback that you get really helps you understand how your body reacts to exercise, right? Agree. And then you can adjust your workouts to get the most benefit.
So instead of just going through the motions, you can really see what's working and make changes based on actual data.
Exactly. And there was even a study, I think it was from Duke University, that found that just being more aware of their activity levels made people want to move more, which, as you know, is key to reducing risk of getting overweight and all those chronic diseases that can affect your heart.
So it's kind of like having a tiny personal trainer in your pocket, watching your progress and cheering you on. Now, this PDF also talks about sleep quality and sleep tracking.
I gotta say, I've always been kind of iffy about that feature.
Oh yeah, I get it. Sleep tracking might seem kind of gimmicky, but the science behind it is actually really cool.
Okay, tell me more. You got me interested.
All right, so the National Sleep Foundation, they're pretty much the experts on all things sleep. They say that tracking your sleep can help you see those patterns that are keeping you from getting those Z's. Imagine your tracker notices you're tossing and turning all night. That could be a sign to check out your sleep environment. Is it too noisy? Is there too much light? Or maybe it's something you're doing before bed, like drinking coffee too late. Okay, I'm starting to see how that could be helpful. By seeing that data, you can start to connect the dots and figure out what needs to change. But does it really help people sleep better?
Well, a study that was published in Sleep Medicine found that people who tracked their sleep actually ended up making real changes to their routine. And these changes actually help them sleep better over time. And you know how important sleep is for, basically every aspect of our health.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, I'm really starting to see the potential here. Sleep tracking isn't just about the data. It's about using that data to actually do something. Okay, now, another thing that I personally struggle with is stress. Do these devices really help with that too? Like, can something on my wrist actually make me less stressed?
Well, it might surprise you, but some of the newer trackers can actually keep tabs on your stress levels in real time. They do this by measuring something called heart rate variability, or HRV.
I've heard of HRV, but I'm not really sure what it means.
Okay, so basically, think of it like the rhythm of your heart. When that rhythm is steady and has a lot of variation, that's good. It means you're dealing with stress well. But if it's flat and kind of monotonous, that could mean that you're feeling the pressure.
Gotcha. So if I track my HRV, I can actually see when my stress levels are going up.
Yes. And here's the best part. A lot of trackers nowadays don't just measure stress. They also walk you through these breathing exercises right there on your wrist that are scientifically proven to calm your nervous system down.
So it's like having a little stress management coach right there with you. That's amazing.
Yeah, right. And there was a study from the University of California, San Francisco that found that people who use trackers to monitor their stress and practice guided breathing actually had a significant decrease in their anxiety levels. Pretty cool, right?
Wow, I'm really starting to see how powerful these things can be.
Mhm.
But I'm also wondering, are there any downsides? Like, is there anything we should be cautious about? I mean, it can't
Mhm.
be all good, right?
You're absolutely right to be thinking about that. Like anything, activity trackers can be used in good ways and maybe not so good ways.
Let's dig into those potential downsides a little bit more after we take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, so we've talked about all the good stuff, but like you said, there are always two sides to every coin. What are some of the things we should watch out for? Potential downsides or concerns about these trackers?
You're right to be cautious. One of the things people worry about the most is how accurate the data really is. Not all trackers are made the same way, and some might be better at measuring things like your heart rate or sleep stages than others.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, we need to do our research and pick a brand that has a good reputation for being accurate, right?
Exactly. You don't want to be making decisions about your health based on data that's not even right. That could really backfire.
Definitely. Okay, what about privacy? These things are collecting a ton of information about our health and habits. Should we be worried about that?
Yeah, privacy is a huge concern with these devices. They're tracking pretty sensitive stuff, not just your health data, but even your location. We need to be aware of how companies are storing, using, and sharing that data, you know.
So what can we do to protect our privacy if we decide to use these things?
Well, the first thing is to actually read the privacy policy for the device and the app you're using. See if they clearly explain how they collect, store, and share your data.
So basically, be informed to know what you're signing up for.
Right. And a lot of times you can also change the privacy setting within the app itself. Some apps let you choose how much data you're willing to share or even make your data anonymous.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, another thing I've heard people talk about is data overload. You can easily get overwhelmed by all those graphs and numbers.
Right.
How do you find the balance between tracking data and not going overboard with it?
That's a common problem, actually. It's not just about collecting data, it's about understanding it and using it in a way that actually benefits you.
So how can we avoid getting lost in all that information?
It really comes down to being focused and intentional, I think. Just pay attention to the data that's most relevant to your own personal goals and health priorities. Like if you're mainly trying to sleep better, focus on that sleep data and maybe ignore those step counts for a while.
Makes sense. Don't try to do too much at once. Just pick one thing and stick with it for a while. Here's another thought. Could these devices actually cause stress, like an unhealthy obsession with the numbers? What if someone starts feeling like they have to hit a certain number of steps every day, even when they don't feel good?
Yeah, that's a real risk. It's all about building a healthy relationship with technology. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others, especially with fitness. You're constantly seeing other people's achievements, and it can be tough to resist that urge to compare.
Yeah, it's almost like social media, with everyone posting perfect bodies and workout routines that look so easy.
Oh, definitely. It's important to keep in mind that we're all different. What works for one person might not work for another.
So we need to listen to our own bodies, respect our own limits, and not let the technology run our lives.
Absolutely. These devices should be tools that help us, not control us or make us feel bad about ourselves. Now, thinking about the future, I'm really curious to see what happens with activity trackers. What kind of cool new developments are coming up?
I know, right? I've heard rumors about trackers that can measure your blood sugar and even detect some serious heart problems like atrial fibrillation. Crazy, right?
It's insane. It's like having a mini doctor's office on your wrist. And with all the advances in AI and machine learning, we can expect even more advanced data analysis and personalized recommendations.
So maybe someday these devices will be able to not just track our health, but actually predict problems before they happen or even suggest specific ways to prevent them.
It's definitely possible. It feels like we're heading toward a world where activity trackers play a much bigger role in preventive care and personalized medicine.
That's exciting, but also a little scary. It brings up a lot of questions about privacy, how much technology should be involved in our lives, and even whether these devices could become too intrusive.
You're hitting on some key points there. Like with any powerful tool, we have to be careful and have conversations about how to develop and use these devices responsibly and ethically.
You're right, for sure. Well, we've covered a lot today. We've looked at both the amazing potential of activity trackers and some of the possible drawbacks. It really seems like activity trackers have evolved a lot, from those basic step counters, all this. But can they really make a difference in our health like they say they can? That's what I want to know.
Well, from all the research we've looked at, it definitely seemed like they have the potential, to be more than just a fad. But like any other tool, it really comes down to how you use it, right?
So strapping one on and expecting a miracle, that's not going to cut it. You have to actually be mindful, use it intentionally to help you reach those goals, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's about finding that balance, where tech helps us without overwhelming us, without taking over our lives.
Which brings us back to you and what you were hoping to get out of this. You wanted to know if these devices could actually improve your well-being, right? So what are your thoughts after all this?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that activity trackers can give you some really useful insights about how active you are, your sleep patterns, even how your body handles stress. And they can motivate you, support you, and even offer guidance tailored to your needs, to help you make healthier choices.
But we also got to remember those downsides, like the accuracy of the data, privacy issues, and the danger of becoming too dependent on tech.
True, true. We have to be a little skeptical, right? And be aware of those pitfalls. I mean, in the end, it's about using tech to make our lives better, not more complicated.
That's a great point. It shouldn't be about becoming obsessed with the data. It should be about learning more about yourself and feeling empowered to make changes.
And when it comes down to it, the most important thing is how you feel, how healthy and happy you are. So listen to your body, know your limits, and just use these devices as tools to help you on your journey, right?
I like that. Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, everybody, that's it for our deep dive into activity trackers. We hope you found it informative and, most importantly, that it gave you some new ideas to work with. Until next time, keep exploring.